Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Before starting, subscribe and like the videos, it really helps. The content from this video are taken from the web novel and manga series of Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. Now please enjoy the video. Volume 12 Chapter 1 Saying Farewell Part 1 Begarito Continent. That continent is a different land isolated by the ocean. The place of our objective is Labyrinth City Lapon, inland on the eastern side of the continent. There are two kinds of routes for the sake of crossing over to the continent. The method of traveling to the edge of Central Continent, Dragon King Kingdom's port city East Port, and then moving across by boat. That would mean you enter the Begarito continent on the eastern side. It's somewhat of a roundabout way, but it's the safe course. The other one is a route to take a boat from a port city in Asura Kingdom and enter the Begarito continent from the northern side. It's a bit dangerous because it means crossing Begarito continent, but it can drastically reduce the time it takes. Taking that into consideration, the former would take 18 months. And the latter would take 12 months, or at least it could be said to be around there. Even if we were able to find some sort of efficient method to move, we can say from the start it's still impossible to do the round trip within 7 months. In other words, I won't make it in time for the childbirth. That's not the only concern. This time I'm completely opposing Hitagami's advice head-on. Although, since it's him, the fact that I would disobey it might have been within his assumptions. However, if it comes down to opposing him head-on, as I thought the story is different, if I were to say it, during the time we crossed over to the Central Continent, it's almost like not going to Sharon Kingdom. Without ever meeting Zenoba, it would mean Lilia and Aisha continue to remain captive. Just, in that case, things might have changed, so I wouldn't have ended up running into Orsted. If I had done that, I wonder what would have been going on around this time. Without any specific problems we would have arrived at the refugee camp. Still, I wonder if it would have ended up with my first night with Eris and then separation? About 10 years later, after finding out about Lilia and the others' whereabouts, I wonder if I would have regretted it. Right, that guy said that I would regret it. The advice from last time is unchanged from this time's advice as well, that I would regret it. Most likely it's not something related to time. If I go to Begarito continent I will regret it. I don't know what kind of regret it will be. There are several things I can imagine. For example, it could be that I might lose something. Right hand or left hand. Or, Paul or Zenith. No, I should stop with thinking about it too deeply. In any case, if I decided not to go and didn't go, then I would have ended up living another year or two worrying endlessly. As a result of that, if I hear notice of someone having died, it could be possible that I get criticized by a worn-out Paul or Gisu. There are any number of possibilities. I have no choice other than to go, even knowing I will regret it. Part 2 First I decided to talk with Elinalise. If Sylphy starts to cry when I talk to her, then my resolve might get dull after all. First, by talking about it with those around, I want to fortify my resolve. I called out Elinalise to an empty classroom at school. There, I informed that I had decided to go to Begarito continent. She made a bitter face. You know, Rudeus, I told you stay behind here? Yeah, however. While I was hesitating to say it, Elinalise said it. In the first place, that letter, it might just be Gisu jumping to conclusions, you know? Jumping to conclusions, huh? I'm sure you know as well, Rudeus, but that man has times when he jumps to conclusions without confirming the important things first as well. Well, I'm sure there are things like that as well. Gisu is the type that doesn't tell the whole truth while moving around and doing things in the background. This time as well, that possibility is plenty likely. Unexpectedly, 1 month or so later it might become the case that we get a letter saying, previous statement withdrawal, Zenith is safe. I've considered that possibility myself as well. After going to carry it out, and by the time we get there Paul and the others have already resolved it, it would be a difference in passing. That's certainly a possibility that exists, but think about it a bit, isn't it strange that Gisu would know my location? Huh? The time when we sent a letter after deciding our residence was 1.5 years ago? If Gisu has been in Begarito continent for over half a year, how did he find out our location and send a letter? Just by moving, it will take close to 1 year. Even sending a letter will take about that amount of time. It's not like we can just use a cell phone or mail. Even the special express delivery takes more than half a year to arrive. The time doesn't match up. If Gisu had come together with Elinalise, separated soon after and moved straight to Begarito continent, then it would still be better. How could a guy who has always been on Begarito continent know of our location? Most likely, Gisu has already joined father and the others. Then he heard my location and sent out a letter using that express delivery. Then, why is the sender Gisu? Either it's Gisu's own judgment or something with my father's pride, I guess. Pride? Elinalise put her hand to her chin and considered it. Paul wrote down in the letter sent to me as well, that he's leaving things afterwards to me. That matter is probably interfering and making it hard for him to ask for help. Elinalise looked at me. However, she made a and considered it some more. In the end she finally nodded in agreement. It can't be helped, can it? Let's go together with the two of us. I don't know what kind of conclusion she came to. However, while smiling bitterly, Elinalise said it. It was almost like she knew it would end up like this. We'll be going together to Begarito continent as a party of two. That's our plan. Part 3 1 hour later. Then, let's decide on the route at once. Elinalise returned to her own room and quickly came back carrying a large map. For the sake of the journey it must be something she prepared and left out in advance. The two of us studied the map. The detailed roads and locations of the towns aren't written down, it was a simple map with just the shape of the continent and the locations of the mountains. These past few days Elinalise must have been investigating the roads in advance. The rough location of Lapon and various important points along the way have marks next to them. Just as I thought, there are two routes. For the time being, the sooner we arrive at Lapon, the better, isn't it? Elinalise pointed her finger at the shortcut. The route that enters from the north. But, the route that enters from the north is dangerous, you know. This route is dangerous. We don't know the roads either. It's a route where we have no choice but to cross a dangerous continent. I have a reasonable amount of confidence in my own ability at fighting monsters as well. There are no worries about combat potential. Even though I say that, an unknown land is still scary. If I remember correctly, Rudeus, you can speak the fighting god language, right? Yeah. It's not very native sounding though. Then it would be fine if we hire a guide when we get to the actual place. I see. Following Elinalise's advice, we decided on the route in a flash, since she was used to traveling. After that, we roughly decided the flow of the journey. First, we'll buy a horse in this town. We'll travel with the minimal amount of luggage necessary until Asura Kingdom. If the luggage is too heavy, then the movement speed starts to dull after all. The lighter we are, the more distance we can cover. Along the way we'll continue to replace our horses, moving as quickly as possible towards the port city of Asura. After we arrive at the port city of Asura, there we'll buy and prepare equipment and food. Especially food goods. It's not confirmed that we'll be able to buy what we need in Begarito continent. The price of goods in Asura is high, but at least in regards to food, we'll without a doubt be able to gather it. After the preparations are done, we'll get on a ship to Begarito continent. In the port city we'll hire a guide. Depending on the situation, we could hire a number of escorts as well. Elinalise will conduct the negotiations at that time. I'm the interpreter. With the help of the guide we'll traverse Begarito continent and arrive at Lapon. There we'll merge with Paul and the others and solve the problem. Then we'll return using the same route. Up until Asura at least, it's a journey we've done any number of times, so it will be fine. The problem is choosing what we take with us when going to Begarito. It's not like we can just take anything and everything. If we could get our hands on something like a carriage it would be easy, but Begarito is a land of continuous desert. Most likely there's some other kind of different transport used. If I were to compare it to Magic Continent, it would be those lizard-like fellows. According to my predictions there should be something like a camel. That is something we'll complete somehow or other, relying on experience. As expected of an old one's wisdom. Please don't flatter me. I was an adventurer for 5 years or so as well. Even though I say that, if I were to be compared to a great veteran like Elinalise, it would still be fine to call me an amateur. It's come down to where I'm considerably leaving it to her. Since we have physical strength after all, we should be able to move at a considerably quick pace. That's right. Elinalise is probably fine, but the problem is how far I'll be able to keep up, I guess. I've been continuing my training, but I still wonder if I'll end up slowing down Elinalise since she's used to traveling, though I think it will be fine. Since there are horses raised for the purpose of traveling long distances around here, it's just right. The objective is to arrive within Asura in less than 2 months. I don't know how long the trip on the boat will take, but we can assume 1 month. Neither of us have been to Begarito, but since it seems to be a harsh land, we'll try to move to our objective within half a year. One way it'll take about 8 months. That's reasonably faster than first assumed. I have the feeling that if I use magic then I can reduce it even more, but the shallow thinking of an amateur can cause some kind of mistake. It's quite possible that it will end up taking unnecessary time as well. This is where I'd like to go with a more reliable method of arrival. Other than that, there are various other things we need to keep in mind while confirming one by one on the way. I'd say as expected of a veteran like Elinalise, she's ironing out the details to avoid conflicting opinions from coming up during the journey. Worthless disputes can't be stomped out in just a single day. Even down to the details, we confirmed each and everything. The problem is, in the end Elinalise put her hand on her chin and made a difficult face. I feel that we decided all the main points, but I wonder if there's anything else. It's about my curse. If she doesn't have intercourse with men, she'll die. If it's a willful journey, then it's fine. It's fine to just find a relevant partner in a town she stops by. If it comes down to a long journey, then there's also the possibility of sticking together with a party from somewhere as well. But, on a journey in a rush, there will be times when nothing can be done about it. We both kept silent. There's a method to resolve it. It would be fine for me to be the partner. I'm a man as well. Before we attended the university, it's different from the time when I formed a party with Elinalise. If I was told to work as a partner, then I can do something like being a partner. However, I don't want to betray Sylphy or Cliff. During the journey, Elinalise-san and I can't do it. Yeah, that's right. Let's try to make use of something like a brothel on the way. During the journey, we won't lay our hands on each other. We need to make that clear. If we don't do that, we might end gradually moving in a direction where we end up doing something after all. Come to think of it, that one magic tool? It can weaken the effect of the curse, right? If I were to bring that out, then Cliff will. You don't intend to speak to Cliff. Elinalise intends to silently leave Cliff, it seems. No matter what, isn't that just too pitiful for Cliff? It's no good if you don't talk to Cliff. But, please leave it to me. I won't let it end up badly. We started towards Cliff's place. That's it guys, thank you for watching, subscribe if you want more and don't forget to like the videos.